Sunday morning supposed to be, right? If everybody is in church and wherever you are can be church. You are the church. You are the temple. Let's do it. All right. Welcome, 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 welcome. This is Alan, a double true to my roots channel. Talking about all things spirituality. We're going to be continuing on with our reading of Blackroots Science. We're on chapter 8 now, as you can see. If you haven't seen any of the other videos, just go to my channel, True to My Roots. That's two, the number two. True, TRU, to my roots. You should know that by now if you're seeing this video. Go and scroll through the lives and you'll see the other chapters that I've read and discussed thus far. Again, if you want to read along, at some point, we have other people brought in to be able to share the space with, share the screen with. Maybe some of my partners come through and help me read a few chapters, right? Because it's going to start getting lengthy in a minute. It's always good to have feedback to bounce off of. Where two or more of my people meet in my name, that's where I shall be. And that's what God said in the Bible, even. Two is better than one. Just all those little sayings that people say, they are true in a way. It might be you. Anyway, all right. So, again, if you want the book, I put the link to volume 1, which is what we're reading out of. As you can see, Blackroots Science, volume 1 PDF. The link to this PDF is in the description. I'm also going to put, this is volume 2. This came out in 2018. There wasn't a PDF made for this, but let me show y'all this. Thanks to the kind people over at Team 144K. They have a Discord and they have a Clubhouse group. Thanks to those people, somebody actually, never before seen it, somebody actually took pictures of every single page and compiled them into a PDF file so that you can have volume 2 whenever you want. From your mobile device, from your desktop, whatever. So, man, shout out, salute to the people who put that together. And then, again, those same people actually recorded themselves reading volume 1 as an audiobook and put it on YouTube. I forget the name of that channel, but it should be obvious. If you put in Blackroots Science audiobook, you'll see it. You'll see the sarcophagus and those ladies that are on those recordings. Salute. And fellas, I don't know if a brother or two read, but shout out to all of y'all, man. For those people that are on the road, navigating these streets, over the road in those trucks, who might not have the time to sit down and open up a book, still want to, ingest this wisdom some kind of way. And much appreciation to y'all for offering them an opportunity to do so. With that being said, let's get into it. This is chapter 8. Let me move that out the way. The reason why I got this up here is because, as you can see, today I'm actually going to read. Oh, by the way, I'm going to put the link to those pictures, that PDF that was compiled for volume 2. I'm going to put that in the description for this video as well, so you'll have both of them. If I hadn't said that already, I'm repeating it. It wouldn't hurt. A little bit more meat to the soup, as they say in some cultures. Anyway, I put it on here because, as you can see, talking about the creation of the universe, there's a chapter for that in volume 1. And then there's a chapter on the Big Bang Theory from volume 2. So, as you can see, I'm guessing you can see the correlation. I'm going to read both of these chapters and put them in the video together. As I stated in a previous video, volume 2 came from emails or posts that we might have missed that weren't added into the first volume, but still added on to the information from volume 1. So it's like a edition, EDITIO, that was compiled into another book. So when you put the two together, man, you'll see that he masterful work. Like, it adds a lot of context and answers even more questions that people might have had if they felt like they missed something from the first one. Like, I still don't feel like he explained that well. Volume 2, man, he did big things, dream things. Right. So, all right, we're going to read chapter 8 and more on the Big Bang Theory. I believe that is chapter... I could just look it up on the screen. That is chapter 13 from volume 2. All right, let's go. The creation of the universe, chapter 8. All right, there are 125. Hold on, give me just a second. All right, there are 125 billion trillion atoms in the earth. How many stars are there in the universe? 125 billion trillion. Same number as atoms in the earth. As above, so below. The earth is a model of the universe that God presents to us to enable us to comprehend the universe and its stars. For the earth, the atoms are its stars. How big is the universe? We can find the answer by asking, how big is the earth? And what is its proportion of size in relation to the atom? In other words, how much bigger than the atom is the earth? The atom is a 1/4 millionth of an inch across, which in miles is 4 trillionths. The earth is 7,900 miles across. The proportion of size is 7,900 divided by 4 trillionths, which equals 2,000 trillion. That means the earth is 2,000 trillion times bigger than the atom. What this tells us, according to the law, is that the universe is 2,000 trillion times bigger than the solar system. So its size is 2,000 trillion times 7,900 million, which equals 16 trillion trillion. The universe is 16 trillion miles across and has 125 billion trillion stars. The earth is 7,900 miles across and has 125 billion trillion atoms. All right, stopping there for a second. And it kind of make you wonder, You know, a lot of people probably don't ever make it past these chapters when they reading Blackroots Science. I'm like, what do this got to do with? It's just too much. It's too lengthy. You know, people weren't interested in math, science, or astronomy when they were in school. They make it boring, right? Then if you ever happened upon like the supreme wisdom lessons of the NOI, the Nation of Islam, from Master Farad Muhammad as taught to Elijah Muhammad, and then what is it, the Nation of the 5%ers or whatnot, and you look at their lessons and you realize they have a lot of this stuff too. Um, They talk about a lot of calculations. What's the size of the Earth? Who's the original man? How wide is the Earth? What's the diameter of this? What's the diameter of that? How big is the planet? When I first saw it, I was like, well, of course. I was just like anybody else. What does any of that matter, and how is it going to transfer over to something that is useful to us? There's a reason why they putting all that stuff in there for a reason. Actually, in the Supreme Wisdom lessons, they say something about there's this specific area that is made for the black man, black woman, or the Asiatic man to be able to work out in. Oh man, that was always kind of interesting to me. What you mean work out? There's a lot of hidden things for those who like knowledge seeking and uncovering mysteries, and always talking about how the powers that be hide stuff from us, keep stuff from us, man. If you like putting puzzles together, then this is all a part of it right here. These numbers, these correlations, these correspondences, all of it, man. They revealing some kind of secret hidden legend, some code breaker, deciphering key or something that's supposed to unlock something in us. Or else I believe they wouldn't put it in these texts. And just note how many people just overlook it, man. Matter of fact, man, I would say this to y'all. Be wary or observe, pay greater attention to the things that everybody else tends to overlook. That's the stuff that's really being hidden. The stuff that's right under your nose. Yeah, y'all know that. Y'all say that all the time. Um, there's a lot of wisdom right in our faces, and we just choose to say it don't mean that much. These chapters right here are integral, very important for some reason that we might not understand yet. It is why they keep telling you to meditate over it. I suggest that you don't read this book just one time. Treat it like a movie that's deep and profound. Watch it first time for the entertainment. Go back the second time and get all of the nuggets out of it that you can. All the gems, right? Do it again just to dig a little bit deeper. We like the archaeologists of knowledge, and each text is like the earth, especially the ones that are written by elders and initiates and people of that echelon. Like even the Bible, there's layers to it, man. It's not gonna be the same experience when I read it as it is for you. But we'll get into that more later. But that isn't that interesting how he can come up with the whole size of the universe approximately based on a calculation that we have of how wide the earth is. What's the diameter of the earth? How many atoms are in it? Watch. That's that's a lot. And he did not use a telescope. He did not use a microscope. He did not spend any money. It's all everything he needed was available to him right there at that given point in time. Kind of speaks to the power that we say we have as divine beings. Maybe that's what he's trying to point out here. He's just trying to make you see that you have a gift. You're gifted. You're special. You're powerful. All right. Continuing on, paragraph 6, creation of the universe. It says we must ignore the lies of modern scientists if we are to discover the truth about the creation of the universe. They say that 4.5 billion years ago there was a huge kaboom. There we go, the Big Bang. Our ancestors never mentioned any bang, big or small. Ignore the bang and consider this. The law of creation is the law of cycles. Write that down. Which says the end point is the same as the beginning point, and the cycle repeats. A flower starts with a seed and ends with the seed, so that it may start again and continue forever. The cycle starts with the electron and ends with the universe. It ends where it began, so that it may start again and continue without beginning and without end. If the earth is a mini universe, give me a second. If the earth is a mini universe, is it not intuitive to think that it was a full universe at the beginning? And if the electron is a mini earth, could it not have been a full earth also? If the universe is made of star systems, and star systems are made of atoms, does that not say atoms are the original star systems of the beginning? The present universe originated from the universe of the past. And that one from the one before. There never was a time when a universe did not exist. Just as people are born of people and flowers come from flowers, so also do universes come from universes. There is no beginning and no end. It has always been and ever shall be. Makes you wonder about that alpha and omega thing, right? Which says, I am the alpha and the beginning, alpha and omega, the beginning and end. You can be both at the same time, right? But then does that mean does alpha mean beginning and does omega mean end? Is there such a thing as a beginning and end? Maybe that's what he was saying. I am eternal. I have no beginning and end, but I am the beginning point and the end point. I am the whole thing, the cycle. For your consideration. Number 10, our ancestors teach the story of creation as follows. Long, long ago, the earth was a full-size universe. Its present atoms were the stars of that universe, and they were 125 billion trillion in number, filling space farther than the eye could see, stretching across that universe, which was 16 trillion miles across. Just like every flower grows in its season and reaches full maturity, the universe has its season also, called its duration. At the end, it reaches full maturity. When that universe of our ancestors reached full maturity, it was time for it to give birth to a new universe, to continue the cycle of creation, just as a flower folds itself into a tiny seed, which later unfolds into a full-fledged flower. So did the previous universe fold into a single earth. God, whose mind is infinite and to whom star systems are as atoms in size, gathered all these stars into a single sphere which became our earth. The stars of that entire previous universe became the atoms of the new earth. Paragraph 12. That is how the first earth. Ooh, don't do that. Don't do that. That is how the first Earth of a new universe is always created. The new stars filled the space around that Earth, and our universe came into being. There is no Big Bang in the creation of a new universe, just as there is none in the growth of a flower. When it is time to create a new universe, God simply expands his mind until the whole universe appears to be the size of a single Earth. At that point, the stars appear to be the size of atoms. The whole universe becomes one Earth, and new stars are created all around it. How was the universe created? Well, first of all, does the universe have a beginning? No. Just as flowers come from flowers, seeds come from seeds, universes come from universes, there was always a universe present. There was never not a universe. That's according to Blackroots Science. How do we get from universe to universe? It's all through the expansion of God's mind. Notice he says his mind. He's going to explain why he says his mind. So for the people who like to, rail against patriarchy, there's a response for that. Just stay cool. Stay cool. Be cool. And he'll get to it. But it ain't what you think it is. It's not what you think it is. Trust. All he did was expanded his mind, turned all of those old atoms and planets and electrons into a new Earth. It's just like a mini universe now. That old universe became a new Earth. And that's where we start from. The cycle continues. That's why he says the law of creation is the law of cycles. Continuing on, number 14. Not only are the atoms of our Earth identical to star systems, but they were actually the star systems of that universe of our ancestors. Our electrons were their planets on which they lived. When the purpose of that universe was completed, the minds of our ancestors expanded to an unimaginable extent, such that they could see the entire universe as a single sphere the size of our Earth. That sphere became our Earth, and our ancestors made themselves new bodies from its substance. Where do your bodies come from? The first Earth that's created from the old universe. What are you made up of? So, when people say, oh, you made out of stardust. In a way, yeah. But what does that tell you about what he calls black people? Every single thing in this whole entire universe is connected to you. You made your fleshly body out of that. Kind of goes in alignment with what he say in the Bible. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We created ourselves out of stardust, out of that first Earth's substance. It says those ancestors made their new bodies from that substance. They became its first inhabitants on this first Earth. They are the original people called the first gods. We as black people are their descendants. Our lineage stretches all the way back to them. That is the story of how they created our universe. Continuing on. Here's a question to consider. If all the stars of the previous universe are used to form the first Earth, where do all the new stars around it come from? All right, so somebody remember the bold sections of the text indicate somebody on the forum asking the author a question, and they decided to use that question in the book. All right, so somebody asks, I was curious to know which story are you using because this does not relate to the one laid down by the ancient people of the Nile. I can't quote on the Dogon people offhand, but from what I know, this isn't in relation with it either. Although I don't know your source, I'm not saying you are wrong because what you state sounds fathomable but somewhat incomplete. What's the science? Because all science has a basis. The author responds, "This is knowledge that was taught to me by the elders of my tribe. I have since educated myself in the ways of modern scientists and was able to translate the teachings of my ancestors into modern concepts." We're going to get that. There's a connection to what they call Jesus in that statement. Talk about that later. Continuing from the person who's asking the question, what tribe or maybe what reference material would I be able to look up in order to corroborate this and fit the pieces of the puzzle together? The author responds, "I'm from the tribe called Botswana. Our language is called Setswana or Seshuana. As for written references regarding the teachings of our tribe, you will not find any. We are taught orally at first, but this is only basic teaching. The most important teaching is done using only the method of initiation, which is a much more efficient way of passing on knowledge than either oral or written records." Let's talk about that. Notice he keeps saying, man, this is my personal experience, right? He said, I got this information from my elders. Basically, it's like saying, argue with yourself. You, just like you carry the information from your books and teachers of your schools, I got mine from my elders, right? I don't really come to say that you're stupid because of what you were taught by your teachers. You know what I'm saying? I'm basically giving you an account of what I learned, and it's up to you to determine its veracity, its accuracy, right? You don't have to accept it at all. You don't have to receive it at all. You can reject all of it, but you are here in this space. And if you are here, then on some level, spiritual level, you have accepted this message. Keep that in mind, right? Not saying that you need to press this button and close this video out, but you are well within your right to do so. If this don't resonate with you, by all means, you have the power to leave. And he's saying the same thing. I think that would help a lot with our communications. We get to talking about stuff that we know. And then we end up going back and forth, not living our best lives, you know what I'm saying? It's just crazy. And there's another important part that I find myself repeating a lot whenever I have discussions, and I'm not going to do it too much anymore. He said that initiation is the most efficient form of teaching. What is initiation? He said it's where you go to the Torah. You taught by your own spiritual guides, your own ancestors. You meet a gatekeeper. The gatekeeper shows you exactly what happened by taking you to that space and time. And you experience for yourself. That is where true knowledge comes from. He's going to talk about that much more later. I'm not finna go into that. Yeah, we're going to keep it to the outer space right now. But still, as above, so below. Anyway, he says it's much more efficient than the passing of knowledge through oral or written records. So all these people who like bibliography, sources, that's not first person. You have to realize it's not first person. You got it from somewhere, and they probably got it from somewhere else. At the end of it all, you didn't experience it firsthand. How can you, without a doubt, claim that what it says is 100% truthful, accurate, or knowledge, deemed knowledge, wisdom? That's why it's always safe to just share your own personal experience rather than, claiming that, oh, this little piece of information over here is facts. He's spitting the truth. I always said that you can never actually speak truth. It's impossible. You can only speak your perception of the truth. The truth is what it is. And that's all that it is. And if I try to speak on it, then I'm only telling you that this is what I gathered from my experience of the truth. Your story gonna be different from mine. This is why people say, "Oh, that's your truth," well, that's their truth, and I don't believe in that either. There is only one truth. When I hear people say that's your truth, or he's just speaking his truth, I mean, I let them have it. You ain't no point in arguing over nothing. It's the English language. It's crazy. In a way. It's my feelings is that it's messy. But what I'm really converted to in my head when I hear people say that is just speaking his perception of the truth, which is based on all of his experiences that he's or she has had in their life, their biases, their biases, their whatever they bring into the table, assumptions, thoughts, ideas, opinions, feelings, and it's always going to be unique for each and every person. So how, if it's unique, can it be the truth? The absolute truth. And I feel like there's only one truth. But, you know, you God, man. You if you want to continue to see it your way, I have absolutely no problem with that. It's your world, it's your reality. Create it as you see fit. Or they say, do what thou wilt. I have no quarrel. That's why I always say this is for your consideration. You hear me building with somebody, 9 times out of 10, you're going to hear me say for your consideration. These are my thoughts, ideas, opinions. Forcing no subjectivity onto somebody. If you haven't experienced it firsthand, or if I haven't experienced it firsthand, I'm wary about speaking with a conviction like I know exactly what I'm talking about. But I will put it in its proper place until I do get that experience, and then I can use it. I can use that wisdom, that information, the best way I deem fit. That's why they call it this discernment. You have that faculty. If it wasn't meant for you to use it, why would you have it? They say don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're here to intake sensory input, and it is up to us to determine what to do with that information. You know, say get the whole picture. That's what they said, 360 degrees, right? I know I'm like way, but walk with me for a second. I moved way away from this text right here, but walk with me for a second. 360 degrees is full circle, right? If God is everything and nothing at the same time, then you want to get the full circle. You don't want to cut yourself off. You're going to hear me say this a lot, man. Don't be divisive against your own self, your being, because to know self means to know all the 360 degrees of yourself, the whole picture. Not 300 degrees, not 33 degrees. Try and get the whole thing. I'm going to stop right there. We still got a little bit more to read. Where was I? Okay, I'll go back to 21 if I haven't already. Paragraph 21. As we progress in our discussions, if all goes well, I'll talk more in detail about the ancient methods of teaching, still used today among some tribes. And to the brother who asks what is the basis of this science, as you read the coming post, you may eventually agree with the following statement. The basis of science is the mind of our ancestors. Write that down, put it somewhere. The basis of science is the mind of our ancestors. The basis of science is the mind of our ancestors. Umar like to repeat things 3 times. Somebody said it's the rule of 3, the power of 3. Like it make it stronger, more powerful, easy to download, encode into your memory banks. Maybe it's something to it. They say it's science. I don't know. It would be funny if our ancestors repeated everything 3 times. Anyway, let me stop. Somebody asks the author with the bold text, paragraph 23. Now, if this did originate from, as you say, 6,000 years ago, how did they know about electrons and neutrons, etc., when no microscope was available at that time? Scientists have found the smallest particle, hydrogen. I believe may be wrong ages since I did the periodic table. Remember, this came from a forum, so grammar, you know how people write on the internet. They say he believes they found the smallest particle is hydrogen. He may be wrong. It's been a long time since he did the periodic table. He says, I'm not too sure about the analogies and the mathematics in your post either, but will not argue that as I'm no mathematician. You say black people. What do you define as black? Where do the other races come from? Brown, red, yellow, etc. It's finna get heavy, y'all. P.S. What's your religion/faith actually called? Thank you. About to get heavy. The author responds, modern microscopes didn't exist 6,000 years ago, as you say. Our ancestors didn't speak about electrons and atoms in those days. In fact, even today's elders don't speak about such things. I'm the one who translated what I was taught into modern concepts in order to make the discussion clearer. The reason they didn't speak of atoms and electrons is not because they didn't know of such things, but it's because atoms and electrons don't really exist. What modern scientists call electrons are really planets, and the nucleus around which they orbit is actually a sun or star. These planets and stars are miniature in size because of the phenomenon of mind expansion. What happens is that the universe is created at the beginning and lasts for a certain duration. Depending on its purpose, when the purpose is fulfilled, then it comes to an end. Before it comes to an end, the minds of all the people who live in it join together into one mind or one consciousness. This is an expanded state of consciousness. The expansion of the mind or consciousness is so immeasurably large that the entire universe would appear to you as if it were a single sphere the size of the earth. And all the stars of that universe appear to be the size of atoms, and all the planets the size of electrons. He says they don't even look at it. They don't separate what's happening under the microscope from what's happening in the telescope. They just call everything. They call your nucleus is suns. So imagine you in science class in the 8th grade and you looking under the telescope and you say, what part of the cell is this? That's the nucleus. No, they're saying that in traditional Africa, ancient Africa, if you had a microscope and you were looking under it, looking in it and looking at a cell in it, they would say, what are you looking at? They would say, oh, that's the sun. What's that other thing over there? That's the planet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the planet A, B, C, D. Right? They wouldn't call it a nucleus, a neutron, or isotope, electron. They would call it exactly what it was from the previous universe. Imagine that, man. Imagine getting that kind of education. Right? Also notice that he says for paragraph 27 at before a universe comes to an end, the minds of all the people who live in it join together into one mind or one consciousness. One could say that that is the best definition of God. We're all 1,000,000,008,000,000 black people, 504 million men and their counterparts, their soulmates, 504 million women, but everybody comes together and everybody has one mind. That means we all share in the same thoughts, emotions, everything, experiences. We all become one. We don't know ourselves as separate anymore. That is that oneness that we all came from. Duality is what brought about the whole man, woman, the split, the 1,000,000,000,000, all the way down to 1,000,000,000,000. It says all of our minds as one. That's the supreme being. That's what I call the supreme being. That's what I call God. Remember, this is all just from Blackroots Science perspective. Do what thou wilt. Just adding my little 2 cents to it. You know what, man? Forget calling it 2 cents. Adding my little nuggets, my jewelry, because let's not devalue ourselves. 2 cents ain't much or nothing in society. I'm dropping my jewels. All right. Take it how you want. 28. Continuing on. The author says, that's how electrons and atoms come into being. They are literally the stars and planets of the previous universe. Their universe becomes a seed, as it were, for the creation of a new and much larger one. So our ancestors did not call them electrons and atoms. They called them what they really are, which is the planets and star systems of the previous universe that gave birth to ours. He said he'll answer his other questions next time. Let's go back and see. What do you define as black? Where do the other races come from? Oh, he said he's going to get to that later. All right, all right. All right, and that's what he said. Cheers. I'll be waiting for the rest. All right. Oh, and then he goes right into the answers. All right, the author continues. Here's the answer to the rest of your questions. Let me describe in a roundabout way what I mean by black people. Besides black people, there are 4 light-skinned races on Earth. You have the Mediterranean, or the Southern European people. This includes all Hispanics, Portuguese, Latins, and Greek origin people, as well as their kind in the Americas. Then you have the Middle Easterners, including Arabs, Jews, Persians, light-skinned Indians, and such people. Light-skinned Indians. Notice he says that, right? Remember, this book came out in 2008, but he was writing a lot of these posts between 2004 and 2008. He calls them light-skinned Indians. And then he says the next you have the yellow race, and then you have the white race, or the Caucasians. He says those are all the original non-blacks. What is called the red race. Let me make sure. Yeah. What is called the red race, or Native Americans, is a mix of the yellow race, called Mongolians, with black people. It may surprise you to learn that black people were the original inhabitants of the Americas. I'm going to highlight it. Man, where am I at in this video? Man, make sure. Man, I might even turn this into something small. I'm going to repeat this again. According to Blackroots Science, which was written in a series of posts between 2004 and 2008 on a forum, an online forum, the author says, it may surprise you to learn that black people were the original inhabitants of the Americas. One more time. It may surprise you to learn that black people were the original inhabitants of the Americas. I don't want to hear people say Blackroots Science is not respecting our people as indigenous Americans anymore. Yes, I have heard it. We ain't even made it through the first 50 pages of this book, and he already has pointed it out. Continuing on, the yellow race, and then he tells you what the Native Americans are. It's the same thing everybody be fighting over on social media these days, which I don't understand why we need to fight, but everybody wants to be right. That right. Anyway, the yellow race crossed the Bering Strait some thousands of years ago and intermixed with those original black inhabitants and produced the so-called red race. The people we know as Native Americans are just mixtures, what we call Asians today, and black people that are already on the continent that we call America. This came from somebody, remember, who says they have experienced it firsthand through initiation. He's going to talk more about what that means as well. What does it mean to experience it firsthand? It's 2024. How am I going to experience it firsthand? Well, he said in the earlier chapter, the Torah, you go back to that exact moment and you experience the truth, meaning as it actually happened. So the author is saying he's seen this his own two eyes. He heard it with his ears. He's experienced it. He felt the air on his skin. He felt his feet touching the ground. He smelled the smells of that time. He experienced it just like in the same vivid consciousness, the same detail that we experience our reality right now. With an ancestral guide right there with him, when he can ask questions to, as a matter of fact. Which I think is a beautiful thing for a knowledge seeker. Sounds like a dream. Continuing on. That description of all the non-blacks should, I think, make clear what I mean by black people. Now, on the question of what is my religion, I don't have one. I don't worship anyone because I know there is no one to worship. I revere the elders and ancestors of the black nation who hold in their custody the state of mind called heaven. Write that down. There is nobody to worship. There is no religion. He reveres his elders because they're the one who's helping him get to this knowledge that's inside itself. And they hold the custody of it in their mind. And we call that place heaven. Where is heaven? It's a state of mind. I know y'all done heard people say that before, but do they really believe it? They look up. They say, where's heaven? I know you're up above. Somewhere in the heavens, up above, looking down on me. Well, I mean, it is true if you look, if you want to say up here. This could be heaven for me right now, depending on how I want to take it. It could be the opposite if I want to take it that way too. Recognize your power. I'm going to repeat it again. He reveres these elders and ancestors of the black nation who hold in their custody the state of mind called heaven, to which he will ascend when the time comes. He says, I know all this from first-hand experience and not as a belief system. How do you acquire knowledge again? First-hand experience. How do you move from beliefs to knowledge? First-hand experience. If you haven't experienced it firsthand, what are you walking around carrying? Beliefs. Most people like to say, I don't deal with beliefs. I only deal with what I know. Have you experienced it firsthand? Moving on. All the religions on earth came about because people could no longer directly experience the higher realities by means of rituals of initiation. There was a time when all black people openly took part in ritual initiations prior to 6,000 years ago. Since the appearance of the non-blacks, the initiations were hidden to await the end of the rule of these people. When the end comes, let me move it over some. Oh, When the end comes, then the ancient system of knowledge will come back into open use. In the meantime, for the past 6,000 years, the light skinned races have invented a spirit god and heaven to replace the direct knowledge hidden from them. But all their gods and spirits, angels and heavens, exist only in the imagination and can be seen quite clearly under the right ritual conditions. Therefore, they need religion to fill their lack, whereas black people really do not. In our natural circumstances, we know who God really is. They say we are out of our natural mind. We don't know who God is. If you deny yourself at any point and you are out of your natural mind, just like Denzel said in that movie, The Great Debaters, I'm here to help you get your mind back because you must certainly be out of it. More on that later, though. And that should be the end of chapter 8. Yes, it is. And that Society of the Black Nation is actually what's coming up next. Now, let's move it on over to volume 2. Okay? Again, thanks to the brother who took all of these photos and put them in order for us to have this book as a PDF for the people who don't have it yet in paperback, hardback form, physical form. Gratitude. Since he spoke about the Big Bang Theory in chapter 8, might as well see what he says as an add-on from chapters 13, I believe. Chapter 13 in volume 2. All right, so we're going to get into that. More on the Big Bang. Again, if you want the PDF, I'm going to put it in the description of this video so that you can have this. If I do encourage you to order that book, though. No. And there may come a time where we don't have all these devices. Who says it's healthy to have all these devices anyway? Can't nobody take that book from you, though. But yeah, for the meantime, here you go. All right. Modern scientists claim that the universe is expanding from the Big Bang. They look through their telescopes and use other modern methods to deduce that the galaxies are moving away from the Earth and from each other. From these deductions, they come to the conclusion that the universe must be expanding as a result of their Big Bang, which says that the universe started as an explosion and all celestial bodies continue to move outward in all directions because of that explosion. This is an erroneous interpretation of scientific data. Their perception is correct. Make sure it's in the frame. Okay. Their perception is correct that the galaxies are moving away from the Earth and from each other, but to use that information to jump to the conclusion that the universe must be expanding is an error. You say, stop jumping to conclusions, man. Western science is based on theory. I mean, they always jump into conclusions. They always basing everything on a guess or an assumption based on something that they observed, and they're like, oh, that must be what this is. And then they go try to find out what it was. You'll find out that that's not how we do it in our ancient ways, in our original ways. No. It's like doing a puzzle without actually having. It's like doing a puzzle without actually having the box with the picture of the puzzle, what you working your way to. How you gonna ever get the right answer, right? All right. Not to digress too much. I would try to explain the situation by using an example that is close to home and is therefore much easier to comprehend. Let us say hypothetically there are short lived beings on Mars who only live for 3 months. Their scientists look through their telescopes at our Earth, Venus, Jupiter, and other planets. Let us say the first time they look, the Earth happens to be moving away from Mars, as it actually does periodically. And let us assume also that at the same period, Venus and Jupiter are also moving away from Mars, as they also do periodically. Now, because these scientists are very short lived, having a lifespan of only 3 months, during their observations, they will see the Earth moving away from Mars for the entire duration of their lifespan, because the Earth will move around the Sun away from them for about 3 months, then turn and move in another direction for another 3 months, and so on until it completes a full revolution in 1 year. But because these scientists only live for 3 months, they will not be able to see the Earth coming around and moving back closer to Mars. They can only see it moving away in their lifetime. And so, if they are like modern Earth scientists, they will come to the conclusion that our solar system is expanding because the planets are moving away from each other. To see the situation as it really is, using only their telescopes, they will have to wait many lifetimes until other scientists collect more data and see the Earth coming around and back toward Mars, and then move away again, then come back again, etc., as it revolves around and around the sun. Then they would come to the correct conclusion that the solar system is not expanding, but rather the planets move around the sun, sometimes going away from Mars and other times approaching Mars. That is precisely the situation with all the galaxies. The only problem is that the revolutionary circuits of galaxies are so large that it would take millions of years for Earth scientists to collect all the necessary data using their modern methods. At the present time, no matter how long they make their observations, they will only see the galaxies that they are watching moving away. They will not see them make a turn and come around and start moving towards our galaxy. They will seem to continue to be moving away forever in the same direction because their orbital circuit around the galactic sun takes millions of years to complete. The modern methods of astronomical observation are extremely inadequate for observing celestial bodies whose periods of revolution are millions or billions of years long. This in itself would not necessarily lead to all these erroneous conclusions. Using proper logic, they could still discover the truth, but the problem is they are handicapped by previous preconceived notions, namely their theory of the Big Bang. You see, you're not fluid. You don't need, that's called cognitive dissonance. Even when you use proper logic, you just don't want to give up on what you thought was right and correct. Wrote all these journals and got all these awards that y'all give yourselves, and now you don't want to say I'm wrong. It's like you hurting yourself for the sake of being right, destroying yourself for the sake of being right. Shout out Nero. If y'all know, if you know, you know, right? Hmm. Okay. As soon as they observed that some galaxies were moving away from our galaxy, they immediately took that as confirmation of their Big Bang theory. According to this theory, the universe must indeed expand because it started as a localized explosion. And the nature of an explosion is to expand outward in all directions. Because of this false theory, they are logically handicapped. It prevents them from using logic to see that galaxies behave exactly like planets in a solar system. Again, as above, so below. The solar system and then the galaxy. Man, we really start tapping into how much that law, law cycles, law of creation, as above, so below, really has an impact on our lives and everything in it, man, we gonna start doing some amazing things. Like the way he put all those calculations together in those previous chapters. So y'all gonna start doing dream things. Dream things. That's what my cousin used to say. We doing dream things out here. Yeah, black people, we gonna start doing dream things, man. Once the laws start taking root, we start seeing things a certain way, it's gonna be beautiful. All right. He says that the galaxies behave just like the planets in a solar system. What is a galaxy? It's a collection of solar systems. He's going to explain to you exactly what a galaxy is soon. And I think it's going to be very, it's pretty unique, eye opening, even. I can remember back to when the first time I read it. All right. Paragraph 19. He says, well, let me read that last sentence again. He says they handicap themselves. It prevents them from using logic to see that galaxies behave exactly like planets in a solar system. They revolve back and forth around their galactic suns. There you go. Those in one galactic group moving away from those in another group for millions of years, then moving towards each other for millions more. Okay. Technical difficulties. Give me just a second. Just a second. Let me make sure that was the end of that chapter. Look like I'm gonna have to use the book. My computer is deciding to betray me right. Betray. Yep, that was the end. All right. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Like we've been here for just over an hour. Seems like a good amount of time. You know, I don't want to keep you too long. A lot of people got ADHD, or so they call it. Shortened attention spans. It's all programming. We've been trained to be that way. No judgment. But, you know, in and out like a bank robbery. Dropping a few gems, jewels, nuggets. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Again, man, if you got any questions or you just want to build, man, don't hesitate to hit me up in the comments. You want me to point you to some groups where we read Blackroots Science? Hit me up in the comments. Let me show you. Just like the Jackson 5 song. Let me show you the way to go. I'll show you. It's Sunday, by the way. You said this at the beginning. Sunday, October 13th, 2024. Eastern Standard Time. Midday. For those interested. I appreciate y'all if you made it this far. If you didn't, even if you didn't, I appreciate you going on this journey with me. Join me next time as we continue on. Gonna be exploring more about the people, our people, the ancient people. Society of the Black Nation. And then there's a lot of chapters in volume 2 centered around our ancient people and what they would be like. Give you a bit of a nostalgic kind of feeling. That's what I felt personally. What they ate, what they looked like, how they behaved. Just a witch I'll be, man. For those who ever wondered, what were we like before slavery? What were we like before these other non-black races came onto the planet? What was our society like? Were we always at war? Were we always fighting? Where were we on the planet? Were we always in Africa? Did we come out of Africa? That a lie that the non-black people put on us to try and cover up history and our roots and everything. Oh man, it's all going to be discussed in Blackroots Science. If he hasn't touched on it a little bit already and got you curious, curiosity is a good thing. Curiosity is the precursor to knowledge. It's just like belief. Don't take belief as a negative thing. Anyway, gratitude for those who came. Gratitude for those who stayed. Gratitude for those who find this. Gratitude. We happen to run into each other and find that we tribe, we fam. Be blessed, right? If nobody's told you they love you today, I love you. Pass it on, pay it forward, and have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll catch y'all later.